honouring all the myths and stories, all the failures, all the glories, stepping boldly forth into this eternal moment. Are you ready? Are you ready? Everybody and everything is one.
Well, hello there. It's very, very lovely to be with you here. I must just warn you initially that I've done this in some very, very strange places in my time, but I'm in one of the strangest ever. I'm down in Andalusia in the kind of upstairs of a kind of lobby thing, surrounding a atrium type thing, to get the best upload speed I can, because I don't trust it in the room. And it is a little bit like The Shining, but nicer. It's very nice atmosphere here. And the thing is, my connection might be wonky, I don't know. You're getting it in my ear from the music that was playing. It was jumping all over the place. It's very hard to know. Sue will write me a little note on the side if that's the case. And even then, I don't know what I'll do. But my intention is to make it as clear as a bell. Anyway, welcome to the satsang. Pump up the pleasure factor. The satsang, if you've never been before, is the Sanskrit word for people coming together and sitting in their truth, in their authenticity, without all the usual games and charades that we feel inclined to play with each other, even unconsciously when, facing each other in person, normally. So what would normally be in the old school way would be that you go to the Indian guru, because obviously it's the Indian tradition. And you'd sit, and it would usually start off with the guru giving a bit of a rap about whatever the theme was of that day, and then sitting in silence for a period of time together, and then there would be questions and answers and what have you. The sitting in silence together is an experiment I've only ever touched on momentarily with this. It's just that having cut my teeth on this kind of thing in radio, the #1 rule is don't leave dead air. It's so ingrained in me that I find it very difficult, the thought of just sitting doing nothing, because I'd just be worrying that the connection had broken. It was all a bit of a joke. Hence the guided aspect. But I have been doing this myself for about nearly 40 years. We just used to do a group in London once a week, a live one in person. And roll through the whole Taoist meditation process with people, and then just take off into beautiful flights of visualization or fancy and what have you. These satsangs have a different quality because of the medium. It's particular, and I find particularly very exciting, because we are afforded the privilege of sitting together all the way around the world in pretty much every time zone, in the comfort of our own spaces, divesting ourselves, as it were, of our bodies and our personalities, because we don't need them like this. You'll have to excuse if you hear hotel lobby noises in the background, or not excuse it. Enjoy them, seeing as this is all about pumping up the pleasure factor. I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. So we're afforded this privilege of just being together like pure spirits, really. And this is where technology and metaphysics converge in the most fortuitous way. I call this sequence the spirit restoration or the spirit restorative sequence, partly because I really like those words together from the poetic point of view, but to allude to the idea that what we actually are, all of us, is something far bigger and ineffable than we think we are. We think we are these personalities and bodies and possessions and positions and statuses and all the rest of it, that we've really constructed since we were tiny. We believe we are that. I watch a really good friend of mine that I hang out with a lot when I'm in England. His son is 4, and I've been hanging out a lot since his mum died 2 years ago, and watching him grow, watching him develop his synapses, as it were, his neural pathways, his communicational neural pathways and all the rest of it. And it's really, really, really clear how, when you watch him, he is forming his personality. He's forming his repertoire. based on observation of what works and what doesn't work, what pleases people, what doesn't. And that's what we do, and it grows more and more complex. I often use the example of your signature, because I remember creating my 6 and it started off going backwards and went upwards and went upwards, and it kind of turned into the school that it is now. Now I do it automatically, as we all do, forgetting completely that I constructed that. And it's the same with dance moves and postures and all the rest of the stuff. We create ourselves, and then we think we are that. But what we actually are is something far more timeless and huge, and not actually reference to the environment and all the details of the environment, reference to the primordial, ineffable oneness of existence, the Tao, if you want to call it that for want of a better word. And the idea that you would restore your spirit is back to front, because the spirit is a word for that. Let's call it the spirit, call it your soul. I mean, there's a lot of confusion about what these different words mean. It doesn't really matter as far as I'm concerned. For now, let's call that whole phenomenon of the huge self your spirit. The Taoists often do themselves. That doesn't need restoring, because that never was broken. It was never damaged. It was never dented. It was never diminished. The connection to that has been damaged or broken or diminished through being entranced by this creation that we think is us, and it isn't. It's just our concoction. And so the whole pathway of the Taoist practice, or any metaphysical discipline, is to return yourself to yourself, the big self. Now there are various aspects of the human endeavor which are fundamental to our existence, which, if investigated, provide pathways to the great self, the big self. And in this sequence we've looked at so far your purpose in life. And I would suggest, along with the ancient Taoists, that the purpose for us being here is to enjoy it, and that's pertinent to today's theme. The rationale behind that is that if we are each expressions of nature, if we are each expressions of the Tao, of the primordial generative force, it would presumably instinctually manifest itself as us to be able to enjoy the experience of being us. Unless we assume that the Tao is a masochist and is doing it just to suffer, which seems hard to fathom. Why would any generative force want to do that? So we just give it the benefit of the Tao and assume that the Tao produces itself as us to enjoy itself through us. Therefore, our purpose is to enjoy ourselves, not in a hedonistic way necessarily, and I'll talk about that as well in a minute, but to enjoy each and every moment, to value the gift, the ineffable gift of being alive, regardless of the local conditions that you happen to be negotiating at the time. We talked about direction. Direction becomes self-evident as soon as you're aligned with the purpose of feeling the joy and the mission of spreading that joy to your fellows, because the more people there are experiencing the joy of life, the more the Tao's experiencing joy through more people. And that's got to be a good thing, making the Tao happy, happier and happier. You can reckon that the reward for that is that we'll feel happier and happier. Then we looked at perspective and focus, and perspective is all about being able to gain enough distance from the view of your life to see it in perspective, to not therefore be blowing things out of proportion and causing storms and teacups. Or if you are doing that, to enjoy doing that, but you realise that's what you're doing. That's your way of getting off, rather than being compelled to do it. So it's no longer compulsive. And then we talked about focus, which is, again, becomes self-evident, or is facilitated naturally, spontaneously, as soon as you have your perspective. Because then it's easier to see from when you've got a big view which thing needs looking at, which thing needs focusing on. It just becomes self-apparent. But with all of that, which is essentially tantamount to attaining the transcendent position, the enlightened position, You would be a real dry old twig if you didn't also factor in pleasure. Hence why we're here to pump it up today. I do love the word pump. Pumping up the pleasure. It's got a nice ring to it, hasn't it? What it means is fortifying the intention, really, to prepare yourself for the pleasure that is extant in every single moment in latent form, and it's up to us to tune into it and activate it. Epicurus, the ancient, was ancient, but the Greek philosopher, the philosopher of ancient Greece, I think well over 2,000 years, I think it was the first in the West to suggest that the whole point of being here was to enjoy its pleasure. That's what we were here for. And that rather than this make us into, rather than this would dilute us and dilute the spiritual connection, this was in fact the pathway to the spirit, which does run counter to the later church influence, which was not to enjoy it. And hence why we have such expressions as guilty pleasures, as if pleasure in itself is a bad thing. And if you relate that to sex, which is, obviously one of the great pleasures of life, you can see what I mean. There's generally guilt and shame and fear attached to it. But you could take this to any pleasure that you like. Of course, then comes in the consideration of moderation, so that you don't excessively indulge in any particular pleasure, because then you'd be losing your way again. You'd be going down a slipstream. And the idea is to stay in the main thrust of the flow, the Tao, so that you're with that and being fueled by it. What it actually means, pleasure, because it shares the same root as please, is allowing yourself to be pleased by each and every moment as it arises. Allowing the moment to please you. Now, this would seem the most natural and simple thing in the world, and you'd think that you wouldn't need to make any decisions to make that happen. But in fact, strangely, we seem to be wired, whether it's biogenetically or just cultural conditioning passed down through generations, I'm really not sure. We seem to be wired to default to the position of feeling obliged to for life to displease us. We seem to default to the position of that each moment is potentially displeasing, and we have to do things to prevent that. And we do spend a lot of energy trying to prevent life from displeasing us. And if you take this to the extreme, you can insurance policies, mortgages, pension plans, and so on and so on and so on, all these ways of preparing for situations that haven't happened yet, in which life might displease you. Whereas what the Taoist approach would be is to allow every moment to please you, and that will fill you somehow with the fuel and the access to resources that will cause conditions to coalesce in such a shape as that they will facilitate your greater pleasure, your ongoing pleasure, so that you won't find yourself stuck or without resources and in a place where you're being displeased. It also entails a certain discipline of mind to vow that you will not let anything that is happening externally or your reactions to what you perceive as happening externally to displease you, to spoil your pleasure of being. This has to come from an awareness that being here, the thing that we all take for granted, is actually the gift that we're all seeking. Ironically, we've already got the gift, and yet we spend our lives seeking the gift. We think we'll find it by buying such and such a house or such and such a car, or amassing enough money to be able to live without working, or whatever. And I'm not suggesting that these things don't bring momentary pleasure. They also, of course, bring displeasure when they go wrong, or they're not working out, and all the rest of it. Whereas, in fact, the gift itself is already attained. It's the biggest one there is, and there's nothing to touch it. There's no amount of importance or status or prestige or wealth or possessions or company or geographical location or facilities or resources that will ever match that primary gift of just being alive. And the Taoist approach, and certainly my approach, is that the more we focus on feeling the joy of being alive, the more being alive rewards us by giving us all the lesser gifts freely and easily anyway. And the irony is, we don't care anyway because we already got it. It's the fulfillment just from being here. And the tendency, however, is for us to defer our pleasure to the moment that we allotted for pleasure. So, for example, you could be driving along to go to a movie. The movie is therefore designated as the event that is going to bring you the pleasure. And on the way to the movie, you get stuck in a traffic jam. What you're thinking is, this is wrong. This is spoiling the possibility of me having my pleasure when I go to see the movie. I might not get there. This isn't right. And you get into a state of not being displeased by the moment. However, if you were in a state of trusting the great flow, you would say to yourself, well, I'm in this traffic jam now because this is exactly where I'm meant to be. And rather than feel that this is a hindrance or an obstruction to my pleasure, I will feel the pleasure in this moment sitting in this traffic jam. And the fact that the movie may or may not happen is totally irrelevant. That you deal with when you get there. So what we are looking at here is developing the discipline, and it's not a heavy discipline, it's a very light discipline, to remember, that's all it is, to remember to value the moment and to love it, no matter what it looks like, no matter what its shape or texture, or its smell or its flavor, no matter how we are prejudiced against certain areas of things that happen, to even enjoy ourselves feeling the prejudice against what's happening. And that I'll talk about in a second as well. How do we do that? So Epicurus was actually credited with being the instigator of hedonism, which is basically seeking instant gratification to any physical desire that you may have, and that becoming the sole purpose of your being. So you're basically spending your whole time seeking gratification, and your levels of joy will depend on how successful you are at procuring the relevant stimuli. But however, Epicurus was not suggesting that, not that really he's that relevant as we sit here right now. I'm certainly not suggesting that. Hedonistic pleasure is fine, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just another effect of the great illusion. But this isn't what I'm talking about. I really am talking about right now in this moment, allowing yourself to let the moment please you, because that's all there is. And you can choose to stop it pleasing you, or you can choose to let it please you. Now, what actually happens to stop the moment pleasing you is a muscular armoring in the front of the body. It's instinctual almost, it's automatic. You're not aware that you're doing it. It comes from many moments in your early formative years where things were difficult or painful, unfair, unjust, and you were cruelly treated for a moment or for many moments, and you developed a certain defense against that to stop it hurting. And this defense took the form of an unconscious tensing of the muscles and connective tissue, specifically around the solar plexus in the upper abdominal area, which then would spread into the chest, or as we would refer to it, the heart center, and then further up into the throat, and then the face. And the reason it sort of coagulates this tension in the solar plexus area is because the solar plexus is the part of your body that provides the energy for the processing of information. And we are required to synthesize such a huge amount of information each and every nanosecond. It's an infinite flow, in fact. But most of it, the vast majority of it, we're totally unconscious of. it's processed by our subconscious mind. But the part of us that is conscious of the amount of flow that's coming in occasionally wants to stop it. It wants to stop the flow. It's like, stop the world for a moment, just stop it so I can assimilate what I've just been taking in, because occasionally you get an overload. And this causes a tension in the belly. There's nothing wrong with this. It's part of our natural being to resist. If we didn't resist, like electrical resistors, we wouldn't exist in the first place. It's only our innate propensity for resisting the continuum of atoms that we maintain a shape at all, just like and as well, buildings, it's the same thing. The nature of form is to resist, hence how it holds its shape. And therefore, each and every nanosecond, the solar plexus just go, okay, come on then, no, okay, wait, no, wait, hold it, okay, come on then, wait, no, hold it. Now that flux, that oscillation between yes and no, causes a tension in the belly. This tension in the belly makes us feel alive, and so we tend to exaggerate it. This then chemically causes cortisol to be pumped into the system. Cortisol from the adrenal gland, that is, cortisol is the stress hormone. It only lasts for about 10 seconds each time, but if we keep the solar plexus tight, we'll keep pumping it, so we just keep putting it into the system. Highly addictive, of course, and it does make you feel rather horrible, stressed in other words. The opposite of that is to learn to relax the solar plexus and let go of the artery. The cortisol level drops, and then endorphins start rushing through you instead. And you have a beautiful sensation of relaxing into the moment, which, in my experience, feels a lot more alive and a lot more wholesomely alive than the other way. And it's the only way that you can actually allow the moment to please you is to drop that armor. So if you just take a moment now to sense the tension in the front of your body, especially around the solar plexus, don't do anything about it, don't change it. But as you're noticing that, also notice your breathing. Don't change that either. Just notice how jagged and uneven it is and how much you're tending to hold the breath and how irregular the pattern and the tempo might be. Don't do anything to change it. While you're observing the armoring in the front and the breathing pattern without changing it, start to also observe the state of your muscles right now. Because your general state of relaxation depends entirely on how rigid or soft your muscles are. That's your muscles and sinews, your connective tissue. So don't do anything to change it. Just become aware of the head, the neck, the face, the throat, the chest, the belly, your arms, your shoulders, your hands, your forearms, your belly, the lower back, the buttock area, the genital area, the pelvic floor, down your legs, your feet, toes. Just check what's going on, how rigid are all the muscles. Beginning to be sitting comfortably. Notice how much excess energy you're using to sit when you don't need to. You could just surrender to the chair. And with all that in mind, this would be the moment to let the world drift and close your eyes and momentarily devote this to yourself. Because pleasing yourself or allowing life to please you is not a selfish action. It's subtle action. When you allow the moment to please you, you're filled with joy. Your joy then spreads like a contagion. So it's an act of service, in fact. With the eyes closed, aware of the holding that's going on, the tension that's going on in the solar plexus, give your solar plexus a command to let go. Say to it, solar plexus, you're not a stranger, you're part of me. And I'm entitled to command you to do this and that. And I'm commanding you, benignly, as the boss around here, to drop that tension now. Just let it go, let it go, let it go. You'll be safe, it's fine, let it go. And as you do that, get a sense of the information flow entering through from the right side, moving through the solar plexus, and then all the exhaust of it, as it were, like the car exhaust, goes out through the left side. Meanwhile, what's processed in the solar plexus area is the raw energy that is the foundations of all the conscious thoughts that you have. all the information that you'll ever need, in other words. Just trust that all the information in the universe that's required for you to function is being processed right now. And there's no need to stress about it or make yourself tense against it. Where we're with our eyes closed, contemplating the motion of our solar plexuses, responding to the command to soften and relax, and allow that sensation now to start to your chest, into your face. And as it does that, feel that simultaneously the habitual armoring of the front of your body that defends you against the moment pleasing you is dissolving. This is being humble, to be humble and allow the moment, the cosmic power, the entire universe is involved in every single moment, allowing the entire power of the whole universe to come through you, bringing you pleasure, the pleasure of just being. Now, this pleasure of just being includes pain as well as pleasure, if you like. It's not all just sweetness. Allow that in too. Know that there are the smelly bits of life that you have to take in the moment too, but allow that to be pleasing. There's no need to prefer one over the other. All of it is nature moving through you. Just love the nature moving through you. To do this more effectively, draw yourself back inside your body into the rear part of you. If you can imagine, if you were wearing a t-shirt, it would have side seams. And if you were wearing a hat that was constructed likewise with side seams, it would be everywhere but it's behind the side seams, the rear part of the brain, the rear part of the body. So where your shoulder blades are, where the front of your spine is, where your rear pelvic bones are and your sacrum, let yourself sink right back into that, as if you're sinking into the back of your throne. Like you're the queen or the king of your realm, and this is your throne, and you allow yourself to sit right back inside, and you let your mind rest on the headrest at the back of the throne, which is where the rear of your skull is. You notice when you do this that the front part of you becomes more a phenomenon than a reality. So rather than the constructed self, which usually fills the space of the front, there is really nothing there. It's just a phenomenon. There's a sensation of energy moving through, movement of fluids and blood and nervous impulses and all the rest of it. But this is no longer the constructed self. You've let that drift for a bit, collected at the end, no problem. But for now, you've let that drift. And all you are is the background presence, watching, bearing witness from the back of you. And this is the true self. This is the big self. This is the self without boundaries. This is the witness bearer, that from which comes that still small voice that guides you. And it has always been there, watching you grow in the womb, watching you go through the birth canal, or slit out through the stomach if it was a cesarean, watching you grow through babyhood, infancy, watching you go to kindergarten, having to deal with the kids and the teachers and the regime, watching you go through school, all the different phases of your life, and everything that you've gone through up until now, both the pain and the joy. And it has sat there observing all this impartially, as it will do when you finally drop your body. It will be there, just watching. And the more we can learn to identify with this, the less shock there'll be when the body does drop away. This is the eternal self that lives outside of linear time. It lives in lateral time. It lives in the eternal moment. Take a moment to appreciate being this big background presence. And the more you let yourself sink back inside, the more you become aware of the hugeness of you, not bound anymore by the size of the physical body, not bound anymore by the concepts in your mind about what your life comprises or what your identity is, something far larger than that, and indescribable, ineffable. And as you think back and back and back and feel yourself growing larger and larger and larger, it becomes clear that the apparent boundaries between you as an individuated form and the great all that is are really quite illusory. They're diaphanous and hardly there at all. In fact, they're so diaphanous you might as well just do away with them. and just acknowledge that right now what you are, what we all are just expressions of the big one, the huge presence, and here we all sit. To bring some warmth into this, feel the front of your chest soften even more. Imagine that your breastbone splits into open doors. Feel the core of your chest, what might look like a cluster of precious rubies and garnets, amethysts, sparkling and shining and emitting not only a beautiful crimson rose light, but also a beautiful soft, good fragrance, an aura of goodness, of joyfulness, of love, of generosity, of all the noble character qualities of the human character, radiating from you generously, freely, without inhibition, and to go and find their destiny wherever it may be, connecting with everybody in the circle, all the way around the world, bathing everybody with your beneficence, and simultaneously receiving the joy, the love, the courage, the beauty of everybody in the circle. And we are only representative of all, so let this be something that we're sharing with all humanity right now, and not only humanity, but all sentient beings. To get the sense that as you breathe in and as you breathe out, and to impact the whole, all the while, the essence and influence of this love, this joyfulness, this heart energy, is respectively, as you breathe in, coming into you from everybody, everywhere, and coming out of you to everybody, everywhere. It's your interaction, your true transaction with existence. And as you do that, become aware that what is informing all of us and all of this is this one presence, this one being, the one entity, the Tao, or God, or whatever you want to call it. And that's what we're doing right now. We are experiencing God, or the Tao, breathing in and breathing out. And the quality of that breath is love, it's joy, it's being pleased, allowing this to please us right now. Now from the back of you, become aware that there is an energy that predates even light. Before there was even light, before there was even sound, there was an energy. It's the dark energy. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's before there was light. That's how primordial it is, before the Big Bang energy. And allow this energy to start ascending up through your heels, up the backs of your legs, and into your back. And it's like the energy you would find in an ancient cave. So I repeat, there's nothing bad about it or negative in any way whatsoever. To the contrary, this is about as pure as you can get. It's that beautiful, ancient, still energy, the primordial energy that you would find in the deepest cave. It's really still and really silent. It's the shocking still, it's so still. And it fills your back. And from your back, it reaches out through your brain, through your guts, to the horizons all about. And it's coming through you, it's channeling itself through you. This is the ancient, ancient energy before there was anything. This is the ground of all existence and non-existence. This is the very cloak of the Tao itself. And from this perspective, really as a primordial ancient being, as big as the whole universe, gaze out to the perception of what you see your life as right now, out there in the world. You with your relationships, you with your place you live, you with your hopes, you with your prospects, you with your fears, you with all the people in your life, you with your work, all the doings and all the goings and comings and things that you have to deal with, all your challenges, all your joys, all of it. See that. And it's as if really you are the big archangel looking down at the life that you're going to heal right now. And to every aspect that you see, and this is including the difficult ones, which perhaps would be good to look at first, rather than resist it, say to it, I love this, I love this, and then move your attention to another aspect of your life. Maybe your bank balance, And maybe you're bank balance in great overdraft situation. And you say, I love this, I love this. And then maybe aspects of your health that have been bothering you, rather than resisting that, just say, I love this, I love this. Crazy as it may sound, just go with this. Just say, I love this, I love this. And then look at maybe bits of relationships that are difficult or broken. And say to those bits, I love this, I love this. Again, go with the noise in the background. Yes, use that. Think of all the things that disturb you in your life, or that seem to get in the way of the perfect happiness, and say to those things, I love this, I love this. Keep saying it, I love this, I love this. And you'll notice that as you do that, it's breaking down the defenses, it's breaking down the barriers and all the judgments that would normally prevent you being pleased by the moment. And then drop all of that, sink even further back inside, breathe even more slowly, let your muscles relax even more, let your heart open even more, let the radiance from your heart shine even more, and the shine of everybody else fill you even more. Just be silent and just breathe, and be aware that the entire experience of life, this entire universe, is only here to bring you pleasure in this moment. And rather than be rude to it and deny the gift, receive it gratefully. Be big enough to receive the gift that is being given you. Be big enough to receive this gift of joy, of being pleased. Allow the moment to please you. And as you do that, if you're sensitive, you'll actually see the face of the gal smiling at you. Go and go, here you are, darling, have it. Here you are, go on, have it. I've been trying to give it to you for all these years. Take it now. Receive it. It's yours. And the more you do, the more it will please me. And the more pleased I am, the more pleased you'll be. And the more pleased you'll be, the more pleased I'll be. We all win this way. Let it in, let it in, let it in, let it in. It's exactly the same as when a friend gives you a gift or a compliment. You shouldn't have. Oh no, you shouldn't have. Oh no, that's not. You're blocking the energy. This way you're saying, thank you. I accept it. I accept it. You know, I'm worthy of this. I'm entitled to this. I accept it. I accept it. And then vow that no matter what happens to you for the rest of your life, that you promise that you will experience everything that happens as an expression of absolute love, no matter what, that you will not let anything spoil your enjoyment of being alive, no matter what. No matter what, no matter how much suffering is involved in it, you'll come further back inside so that you're behind that, and you can welcome all of it as a gift of love. This is big, this is proper warrior stuff. That I will welcome everything that comes to me as an expression of absolute love, and that I will allow each and every moment to please me rather than displease me. And that by engendering this joy within me, I will spread it naturally like a contagion to everyone in my life, everyone that I encounter, and that's my mission. And I can't do more than that. And as a result of this, you will feel the sense of a smile growing in your pelvic floor, the essence of the smile, growing bigger and bigger until it starts climbing up your stomach, into your chest, and into your shoulders, and goes out the top of your shoulders in such a big smile. And it causes every part of you to be smiling, especially your eyes. Your whole body has now become a living smile. And as you feel this, notice that the resonance of your smile is spreading out to everyone in the circle who have also become a smile. And beyond ourselves, everyone on the planet who have also become a smile. And beyond everyone on the planet, see the entire universe which has become a smile. See the whole universe smiling right now. Rather than seeing it frowning, see the universe smiling. It's enjoying having itself pumped up with pleasure right now. Now, next week, we're going to be looking at optimizing your optimism, pumping up your positivity, because with this pleasure that we are allowing in now from each and every moment, if we then focus that even further by honing our optimism, our positivity, the results that we will attain will be remarkable. also like to tell you while you're still in meditative state that it's so pertinent to allow the silence now that follow this to please you, rather than be looking around for the result of this to occur. Results do occur from these interventions into the walking left of reality, but they're not something that you can expect in a gross way. They will occur subtly and discreetly, like a vapor starting to fill up a room, very slowly and perceptibly, gradually pervading the entire space. And it's subtle, but you will notice effects from doing this. The more you allow each intervening moment to please you, the greater these effects will be for you. And now, in your own time, this is the time to open your eyes, with your toe, with your ears, with your nose, with your fingers, and your step, and bring yourself into the waking state. You do so, you maintain the position of your back. So you maintain the transcending, if you like, superhuman state in the world. There's no obligation to pretend to be the constructive little self. You can remain being the big self then for the rest of your life, if you like, and you will have far better experiences of being here than if you don't. That's my prescription for the day. And now I'm going to hand this over to Susie Crew.
Hi, just checking you can hear me again okay, Stephen?
Yeah.
Well, let's start with this comment from Helen, who says, "Hi Steph, another fantastic satsang, very powerful. This commitment to not let anything take away from my enjoyment of life. I've been experiencing this and sometimes wonder if I'm going a bit crazy, but it feels so peaceful and magnificent that if I am going crazy, I'm okay with that."
Yeah, no, Helen, I'm thinking we're all crazy anyway, aren't we? We live in a completely crazy world, so I wouldn't worry about being crazy. And yeah, this is definitely positive craziness, if anything. But I'm delighted that you're feeling that. Wonderful.
And M says, "Ooh, that was nice. Thank you. Glad to hear you're coming to Devon to offer super healing soon. See you there."
Thank you, Em. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And we've got a question here from Anita, who says, "How can I bring pleasure and enjoyment to real difficult moments, like an 80 decibel toddler temper tantrum at the supermarket checkout?"
Anita, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, that's the whole thing here. In that moment of having your senses assailed by the screaming toddler, the prejudice is obviously, this is not enjoyable. I shouldn't be enjoying this. I can't let this moment please me. But when we physically drop the armor in the front of the body, like relax the front of the body, and feel the empathy with the child, with the mother, rather than the judgment of the child or the mother or the father, putting ourselves in the child's shoes, as it were, that huge overload of information, sensory input that the child can't handle in that moment, you know, the existential turmoil that the child is in that moment, feeling into that with compassion, the heart opens up, bathing the child with that love, even though the ears are being pierced. And rather than fighting the piercing of the ears, to relax even the ears and keep coming back inside and just reminding yourself, I will not let this spoil my moment of being alive. I vow to enjoy even being irritated by the sound. So the idea that we can actually enjoy the weirdest things. And I have done this. I've done exactly what you're talking about really recently. And I've noticed myself tense up against it. Oh, shit, I don't want to deal with this noise, you know. And I just did all that. I just got into the child's space, thought how horrible it was to be that child in that moment. Breathed, relaxed the front of my body. Then the child stopped crying, actually, at that moment. That often happens when you do that. Had a nice little word with his mum, a bit of encouragement. And it was really fun, actually. It turned into a really great moment. So that's my answer to that. It can be done, Anita. It can be done.
We don't have any more questions at the moment, Stephen, or any more comments.
Shall I say a poem then?
You could do.
Well, all right, I'll say a poem. Listen up. Crazy old time we've been having here. Some days it fills you with elation, some days with fear. But I tell you this, my friend, Don't let it drive you round the bend, because it's just an adventure that we're in. So you stop, take a deep look around. You know, it's not that bad. Reason to be sad, no reason to get mad. Just relax, get there and enjoy the show. Because, you know, to have an opportunity like this is precedented. See, we all come together on the planet at this time, all parts of the universe, different times and spaces. We come here to show our faces for this incredible show of our world going through the biggest change it's ever gone through, as far as we know. Sometimes you get worried, sometimes you get hurried. Sometimes you get lost in distraction, sometimes you get pulled by attraction. Sometimes you just think you're the bee's knees, other times you feel like you're on your knees and there's nothing you can do that will get you through. But I'll tell you this, breathe, relax, sink your weight, make contact with the power of the ground, let your body sway to life's sound, and before long, the world song will have you exclaiming for joy. What an amazing adventure this is. What an amazing adventure this is. What an amazing adventure this is. Repeat those words over and over. What you find is before long, your mind will empty itself of all that worry, all that fear, all that pain, and you'll be feeling right as rain again. All you have to do is tell yourself how you want it to be, and that is how it will be. It's all down to how you see it. And when all is said and done, as we hurtle round this fiery sun, it's just the interactions you have with each other, your sisters and brothers, that gives your life meaning. Fill those interactions with love, your life will be a loving one. And believe me, when you die and you look back, the only thing you'll have left behind will be the love you shared with one another. So be kind to your sister and your brother, and see everyone on the planet right here, right now, as belonging to your global tribe. Let go of all your fear, your anger, your resentment. Open your heart wide and embrace everyone with your love. And if that sounds idealistic to you, let me assure you what I say is true. Because me, I'm one of the most cynical people who ever walked this earth. But ever since I took birth, there's been something in me that wanted to reach out with joy to every girl and boy and say, what an amazing adventure this is. What an amazing adventure this is. So let's resolve things right here, right now. There's this force, this presence informing this entire universe. Some people call it God, some people call it doubt. Doesn't matter what you call it, names are just names. What is important is that you open your heart and you play your part in this great adventure by not being coy and expressing your joy. You hear what I'm saying? I'm talking about playing like a child. Allow yourself to go a little bit wild, to reach out and touch everyone in your world with your joy, with your freedom, with your wishes for their joy, for their freedom. And by, although it may not seem like a lot that you're doing, what you'll be finding is you'll be transforming your world, making it more beautiful, more loving, more sensually pleasing, warmer and spicier all around. And as far as I'm concerned, you can't do better than that. Just keep reminding yourself, it doesn't matter how well or badly you think you're doing in the game of life. It doesn't matter how much ease or how much strife you're dealing with. As long as you remember this is only an adventure and you let go and relax, you can enjoy it. And the more you enjoy it, the more you encourage others to enjoy it around you. Because your joy is contagious. Spread your joy to every girl and boy, okay? And say, what an amazing adventure this is. What an amazing adventure this is. What an amazing adventure this is. Oh, what an amazing adventure this is. Hey, thank you.
Round of applause.
Thank you.
New career as an impromptu poet. So,
yeah, I was like, it's not a new one. I've been doing this a long time.
So while you were speaking, Stephen, 2 more questions have come in.
That was the idea. That worked then.
Helen said bravo.
Thank
Anita
you.
said beautiful words. And the question, and I do apologise, the the writing on my screen with GoToWebinar seems to have shrunk, and it's so incredibly tiny I'm having quite difficulty reading names and sentences. I think this is from Ulta, or I do apologise if I've got your name incorrectly there. The question is how to handle the situation when a loved one is very sick and suffering.
Yeah, I mean, a really difficult place to be, because when I talk about learning the moment, please, I'm obviously not talking about the suffering of those around you or your own suffering. So you have to acknowledge that the suffering was great in those times, and know that suffering is being experienced by the constructed self of you and of your loved one, not by the witness bearer of you and your loved one. The more you can bring yourself back inside and communicate directly from the background presence in you to the background presence in your beloved, the less the suffering takes center stage, the less prominent that becomes in the play. It recedes somehow into the background rather than being right there in the foreground of the shared experience. And knowing that each moment that you have together is so precious, to doubly vow that you will not allow even this to spoil the joy of being there alive with your beloved, even though it's in the midst of such pain. This sounds like a ridiculous paradox, I know, but it's achieved by coming back inside the body, relaxing the chest and opening the heart, allowing the front part of you to feel the horrible, shuddering awfulness of the pains happening that you're witnessing and feeling in yourself as well, and the feeling of not being able to do enough to assuage that, but at the same time embracing from the back of you via the jewel of the heart, the other, and yourself, of course, and just somehow sitting with that without trying to resolve it, allowing the intensity of it all to be, to appreciate that. But like I don't know, I was driving in Delhi in 105-degree heat once, and this woman begging, millions of people begging everywhere, and we stopped, and I had my window open instead of having the air conditioning. I hate air conditioning. She came up to me, as with a whole throng of others, put her hand out asking for money. I had already given everybody money driving along, you know. I couldn't keep doing it, and they know that, the people who are doing this, they know that you can't give it to everybody, and instead of turning away or feeling embarrassed, I looked her deep in the eyes, because it's like that in India anyway. There was this amazing soul connection between us, knowing that it transcended the current incarnation and the fact that she was playing the role of beggar and me playing the role of relative affluent man in the back of a big swanky car or whatever, and all of that. And I said no, but I said it with absolute compassion, with absolute awareness of the horrible suffering of her and all the people around her, and the horrible frustration of not being able to help everybody all at the same time. Her seeing all of that in my eyes and me seeing her understanding at the same time. There was this beautiful compassion came out of her for me as well as from me to her. And both of us, although there was this pain that she was in and my frustration not being able to alleviate it in that moment, because even if I'd have given her a couple of rupees, it wouldn't have made any difference, there was this incredible joy. And she smiled and I smiled, and there was this amazing light up that kept me going, actually, even till now when I think about it. So it is possible to do the both at the same time.
Bernard says, I often feel tension to the left and slightly above the chi concentration point in the centre of my chest, which I think is related to lack of joy or stress. It seems resistant to shifting. Any advice?
Yeah, that will be, energetically speaking, what we call the heart protector. In Western thought, they call it the pericardium, which is the membrane that protects the heart. This is more of an energetic membrane, and it's actually this energy that gets condensed and blocked through us resisting the moment. And it's good that you're able to pinpoint where that is. I would assume that you've tried putting your thumb into the epicenter of it and are breathing in a relaxed but firm, focused way, pressed in and in and in and in and in and in and right into the place of where the sensation is most poignant. and breathing and allowing it to release around the pressure. In any case, whether you have done it or not, I'd definitely advise a regular go at that. But also, if you look at your left wrist, if you look at your left palm, and then notice there are those two tendons that run from the center of the base of the palm up the soft side of the forearm. If you would go roughly a wrist bracelet along those tendons and press in where the other end of the tangerine would go, as in about, I'm talking about 1.5 inches or so, maybe 2 inches. Press in between the tendons with the thumb of the opposite hand, with starting forces of pressure, respectfully, but not handily, pressing in until you make your hand go a bit crampy, and do that for, say, 20 seconds 4 or 5 times a day for about 3 days. I'd be surprised if you didn't feel some kind of opening in that area on the left side, upper chest. And if you want to email me and let me know about that and discuss it further, I'd be delighted to see if I can help any more with that. Should we have like one last question, Sid?
And surprisingly enough, there is just one last question, and it's from Jen. Hi Doc, I'm doing the super healing course at the moment. Is it usual to feel pressure, pain, or have your body smell weird when the process is changing the energy? I.e., I take it there are physical changes going on here. P.S. The process is going amazingly so far.
Hi Jen, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Jen, if you are who I think you are, a bit of a kung fu master, you're really sensitive to these things going on in your body, which is your deep intervention, which comes this coming week. Nonetheless, going through the contemplations and the exercises and the transmission from me as well, it will be flushing out from that deepest psychic level towards the surface. And the fact that you're getting sensations of pressure and changes of body smell indicates that the process is effective. It's happening. You'll find that and I do think I talk about this right at the end, what they call healing crises generally do occur. You'll find by the end of the 6-week process, you'll have done the whole loop and you'll be in that kind of, without being too sensationalist about it, kind of reborn state. But of course, you stay in contact with me and let me know how it's all going. But yeah, I'd say, bang on, it's a really positive indicator. And as I say, next week, everyone, we are going to be pumping up our positivity, optimizing our optimism, making the most of everything. It seems like a great time. I'm very excited, even if it's only very short-lived, that one woman has so far pulled us back from the brink of nuclear war, and it's holding steady the ceasefire. I think Angela Merkel deserves plaudits and accolades beyond anything that's happening at the moment, even if it's for a couple of days to delay that process. What an incredible person. It took like a woman to do that. It's beautiful. It's all the boys with their guns and stuff. So blessings to everybody. May the peace prevail, and may your joy increase moment by moment exponentially. And I look forward to seeing you next week. If you can tell all your friends to come as well. It's going to be great. Bless you, and thank you. Bye.
Coming home, that's what you want. Coming home is what you wanted all the while. Back to this place where you've always been free. Back to this place where you can't fail to see. Everybody and everything is one. Everybody and everything is one. Not that I'm being judgmental or regimental, maybe mildly sentimental, but I'm sure you've noticed existence